Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time of day it is. I hope it's a great one. This is Miss Sawyer. I am making a little video to explain what this project is. So the guide that you guys have is very specific. It has lots of very detailed things on it, but I want to go through a couple of things. So what this project is you are going to choose two different things, whether it's two teams, two people, two restaurants, two movie genres, two cities, and you're going to find two numerical contexts that you can measure them in. So the first one says, are actors more popular than athletes? So compare the number of Instagram followers and Twitter followers for 15 different actors and 15 different athletes. So what you're going to end up doing is making two graphs that compare the actors and their Instagram followers and the athletes and their Instagram followers. And you can compare the actors and the athletes on two different graphs and say, okay, which graph has a higher average, which graph is more spread, and kind of do those SOCs that we've talked about to compare them. Another example you could do is, do action movies make more money than romantic comedies? So you could look at box office sales. You need a number for this. So look at 15 different box office sales for action movies and then 15 different box office sales for romantic comedies. So that would be one graph. You would make a histogram for action movies, then a histogram for romantic comedies, and their box office sales. But then, as you'll see below, you're going to compare their Rotten Tomatoes scores as well. So two of your graphs are based on the box office sales, and the other two graphs would be on Rotten Tomatoes scores. Another example, if you want to compare two people, you can look at two different professional athletes and look at their stats from 15 different games. But when you do this, there aren't 15 games in all seasons, so you can only compare 12 or 13 if you're doing football. Or for basketball, you can look at their field goal percentage for 15 different games and their three-point percentage for those same 15 different games. So you would have two players, and you're looking at one variable for 15 games, and then another variable for 15 games. And you're going to do that for both people. So if you scroll down, it says to complete the written report, write an introduction paragraph that says, what are you looking at? So kind of introduce your variables, say what you're comparing, why did you choose those? For example, if you chose Portland, Oregon and Portland, Maine for cities, why did you choose those cities? Hey, ooh, bless me. Or if you chose 15 different actors and 15 different athletes, why did you choose those 15 actors and those 15 athletes? Are they all from the same city? Are they all from similar movies? Are they all just who's popular these days? Say why you're comparing those two. So once you write your introductory paragraph, and you also say how and where you obtained your data, you're going to end up making a data table for all of your numerical values. So my page looks kind of crazy, but your paper gives you a really nice table. I think when I transferred the formats, it got a little funky. So look at your your table on your rubric, and it outlines for you what it should look like when you actually make your data tables for part 2. Before we go on to the back page, I also wanted to show you, I wrote a bunch of references right here, or helpful links. These are really good for finding basketball and football stats. If you wanted to compare movies, these are really good movie ones. Also, if you're doing the two cities, weather.com has all of the average temperature and monthly rainfall for those 12 months of the year. So look at these references when you're going to actually get your data. But the big thing, like you guys see on your table, not my crazy table, is you need to have 15 numbers for each category. So it has to go 1 to 15 for all of your different variables. So once again, my outline looks kind of funky with the tables, but if we scroll down, it says for variable 1, compare the two distributions using relative frequency histograms. Make sure you have the same scale for both histograms too. So for example, if I did the Portland, Maine and Portland, Oregon one, I would have two graphs for the temperature. So I would have a histogram for Maine and its rainfall, its temperatures, and then I would have one for Oregon and its monthly temperatures. These are relative frequency histograms, so it's going to be percentages. And these down here are going to be classes, and all of my bars are going to touch. So once you make your histograms, you want to find the mean and range for each distribution. And then you also want to do SOCs for each. So I would do SOCs for Maine and SOCs for Oregon. For the second variable, you would display them using box plots. So make sure you have the same scale too. I'll draw it down here. You should have one big scale. So if I was doing the rainfall, I would do rainfall in inches, and I would have the two box plots on top of each other. And this would be Maine, and this would be Oregon. If they don't have the same scale, or if you're doing Twitter, Instagram, and these are crazy numbers, account for that. You can do little breaks if you need to, if you have a crazy or big scale. You can do those little breaks. Well, once you make your box plots, you want to find the 5-number summary for Maine and for Oregon, or for both of your distributions. You also want to check for outliers using our rule 1.5 times the IQR. So make sure you look back in your notes for that one. Once you've done that, you want to write a few sentences. So do your SOCs, and you do SOCs for Maine and SOCs for Oregon based on these graphs. The last thing you're going to do is you're going to write a conclusion paragraph that gives an overall answer. So if your question is which city is more consistent, you would look at your data, both of your histograms and your box plots, to answer that question. Also, talk about your center and spread. Give those numerical values when you give your final answer. So please email me if you have questions. I'll be on email at night most nights, so I can help with that. But use your friends, use each other. This should be pretty self-explanatory if you read the directions. If you read the directions and make sure you look back in your notes at what I'm asking for. Also, these can be typed or they can be handwritten. The choice is up to you. Have a great one.